Most people move through life fitting reasonably well into the world around them. They adapt, they blend, they find their place without too much friction. But there is a smaller group of people for whom that fitting never quite happens. Not because something is wrong with them, but because the way their mind works, the way they feel, the way they process the world, it operates on a frequency that most people around them simply are not tuned to. If you have ever quietly wondered whether you experience life differently than the people around you, this video is going to feel very specific to you. Psychology has spent decades studying what makes certain individuals rare, not in terms of talent or achievement, but in terms of how they are fundamentally wired. The patterns are consistent. They show up across cultures, across ages, across backgrounds. And what makes these people rare is not one single trait. It is a specific combination, a particular way of thinking, feeling, and moving through the world that only a very small percentage of people actually share. Here are 7 of those signs. Sign 1. You think in layers, not in lines. Most people think linearly, from point A to point B, but rare types of humans think in layers. One thought contains several others underneath it. One question leads immediately to 3 deeper questions. One conversation triggers an entire internal analysis that runs quietly in the background, long after the conversation has ended. Cognitive researchers describe this as integrative complexity, the ability to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously and connect ideas across different domains. It is not something that can be taught easily. It is a fundamental feature of how certain minds are built. Sign 2. You feel the emotional temperature of a room before anyone speaks. Walk into a space and you already know. The tension between 2 people who are pretending everything is fine. The forced cheerfulness that is covering something heavier. The shift in energy that happened just before you arrived. This is not imagination. Neuroscience tells us that certain individuals have a more active mirror neuron system, the network of brain cells responsible for reading and resonating with other people's emotional states. For rare types of humans, this system is extraordinarily sensitive. It is an asset, and it is also, quietly, exhausting. Sign 3. You have a very low tolerance for anything that feels false. Performative conversations, relationships built on surface pleasantries, environments where everyone is playing a role and nobody is saying what they actually mean. Rare types of humans find these situations almost physically uncomfortable, not because they are difficult or antisocial, but because their nervous system is wired for authenticity. Research in personality psychology consistently shows that individuals with high openness and deep value systems experience inauthenticity as a genuine source of psychological stress. They do not just prefer honesty, they need it, in a way most people do not fully understand. Here is something worth pausing on for a moment. Notice that none of these signs are about being better than others. They are about being differently wired. That distinction matters, because rare does not mean superior. It means specific. It means your particular configuration of traits is genuinely uncommon, and that comes with its own quiet set of experiences that most people around you simply do not share. Sign 4. You process experiences long after they have ended. A conversation from 3 days ago, a moment that most people would have forgotten by the next morning, you are still turning it over, still finding new layers in it, still understanding something about it that you did not understand when it was happening. Psychologist Elaine Aron's research on deep processing, one of the core traits of highly sensitive and deeply reflective individuals, found that this kind of extended processing is not rumination. It is a genuine cognitive feature. The brain is extracting more meaning, more nuance, more information from experiences than the average mind typically does. It runs deeper, and it runs longer. Sign 5. You are drawn to meaning over momentum. While most people are focused on moving forward, the next goal, the next milestone, the next achievement, rare types of humans keep stopping to ask why. Why does this matter? What is the point of this direction? Is this actually meaningful or just busy? This is not lack of ambition. It is a different relationship with purpose. Viktor Frankl, the renowned psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote that the deepest human need is not pleasure or power, but meaning. Rare types of humans feel that need more acutely than most. They cannot sustain effort towards something that feels empty, no matter how impressive it looks from the outside. Sign 6. You have always felt like an observer, even in your own life. There is a particular experience that rare types of humans describe remarkably consistently. A sense of watching their own life from a slight distance, participating fully, but also simultaneously witnessing, present in a moment, but also somehow outside of it, noticing it. Psychologists call this a metacognitive orientation, the ability to think about your own thinking, to observe your own experience while it is happening. It is a rare cognitive capacity that most people develop only partially. For certain individuals, it is simply always on. And it creates a relationship with life that is simultaneously richer and more complex than the people around them typically experience. Sign 7. You carry questions that most people stopped asking long ago. Why are things the way they are? What is actually real? What does it mean to live well? Questions that most people encounter briefly in adolescence, and then quietly set aside as they get on with the business of daily life. Rare types of humans never fully set them down. The questions travel with them. They resurface in quiet moments, in the middle of ordinary days, at unexpected times, not as anxiety, but as genuine, persistent curiosity about the nature of things. Research in intellectual humility and open-ended thinking consistently identifies this trait in individuals who score highest on measures of wisdom and psychological depth. The questions are not a sign of confusion. They are a sign of a mind that refuses to stop looking. 7 signs, 7 patterns, all pointing toward the same quiet truth. Being a rare type of human is not about standing out or being exceptional in the ways the world typically celebrates. It is about the specific texture of how you experience being alive, the depth, the sensitivity, the need for meaning, the questions that never quite go away. And perhaps the most important thing to understand is this: these traits were never problems to be fixed. They were always just the shape of a particular kind of mind. One that the world does not always know what to do with, but one that, understood clearly, is something genuinely worth being.